All right, welcome to this explainer. We're going to completely hack your brain for long-term LCPA survival today. If you're a BS accountancy student staring down the barrel of your management advisory services class, specifically, stressing over the core concepts of MAS Quiz 4, you are absolutely in the right place. We're not just doing standard formula memorization here. We're going to fundamentally wire your brain to understand how cost-volume profit analysis actually works, so it actually sticks with you through all those late-night study sessions.
So, here's your cognitive roadmap for today. We'll start with LEKPS survival, move into unlocking the break-even point, tackle equation versus formula, master the indifference point, and wrap up with some crucial brain hacks and a review.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, LSCPA Survival for MAS Quiz 4. Now, you might be wondering about the stark approach we're taking. Well, management accounting is literally all about business survival, figuring out exactly what it takes to not lose money. And that's exactly why the Philippine CPA licensure exam tests this so heavily. To help you master it, we're stripping away all the fluff, the fancy graphics, the visual noise. By massively reducing cognitive load, your brain can dedicate 100% of its processing power right now to analyzing the relationships between costs, volume, and profit, without getting distracted by the shiny stuff.
And 3? That represents our ultimate time frame, 3 years. Because our goal today isn't just to help you cram and barely scrape by on tomorrow's Quiz 4. No way. Our mission is to encode this data so deeply into your neural pathways that you can effortlessly retrieve it 3 years from now when you're sitting for the actual LECPA. We're building a rock-solid foundation of logic, not just temporary memorization to survive the week.
All right, moving on to Section 2, Unlocking the Break-Even Point.
This concept is the absolute bedrock of CVP analysis, so let's trigger what's called the generation effect in your brain. Try to actively recall the baseline definition of break-even right now. Think about it. If you're starting a side hustle selling CPLE review materials to your classmates, how many do you literally have to sell just to cover your rent and printing costs? What's that magic number where your net income is a perfect round zero?
Okay, here it is. The crucial concept to lock in is that the break-even point is a state of absolute equilibrium. Your total revenues perfectly match your total costs, so your profit is exactly zero. It's that precise threshold between operating at a painful loss and finally, starting to actually generate a profit. In the context of your exams, it's the exact output level where your business is mathematically neutral.
Let's make this super concrete with a CVP income statement. Say your total revenues are $1,000. You subtract your variable costs of $600, which leaves you with a contribution margin of $400. Now, since contribution margin is simply what's left over to cover your fixed costs, and our fixed costs in this scenario are exactly $400, we're left with a net income of absolutely zero. It's like a giant puzzle perfectly fitting together. When your contribution margin exactly covers your fixed costs, your bottom line zeroes out completely.
Okay, let's dive into Section 3, Equation versus Formula Methods.
So now that we deeply understand what the BEP is conceptually, how do we actually translate that idea of zero profit into actionable math? Because let's be real, when a terrifying paragraph-long word problem hits your desk during the exam, you need a systematic, bulletproof way to extract the variables and find that equilibrium point fast. Comparing these two methods is a real game changer because it builds associative memory. First, we've got the algebraic equation method. This is honestly just the income statement written out horizontally. Revenues minus variable costs minus fixed costs equals zero. Then we have the formula method. This is your ultimate shortcut, total fixed costs divided by your unit contribution margin. Both of these methods will get you to the exact same break-even point. A great way to think about it is to categorize the algebraic approach as your fundamental logic and the formula approach as your speed-run tactic for the actual board exam.
But what's truly elegant here is how easily we can pivot. If a tricky multiple-choice question asks for the break-even answer in sales pesos rather than physical units, do not panic. You simply swap out the unit contribution margin in your denominator for the contribution margin ratio. And remember, the CM ratio is literally just your contribution margin expressed as a percentage of sales. So, total fixed costs divided by the CM ratio equals your break-even point in pesos. It's simple, it's incredibly fast, and it is highly, highly testable.
Moving right along to Section 4, Mastering the Indifference Point.
All right, we've completely conquered break-even. Now let's apply this exact same logic to choose between two totally different business alternatives. Imagine management comes to you, right?
Alternative A has high variable costs, but low fixed costs. Maybe it's a manual labor setup. Alternative B, on the other hand, has high fixed costs, but low variable costs, like investing in some heavy robotics. This scenario analysis acts as a massive decision-making puzzle, triggering those active problem-solving pathways in your brain. How do you find the exact tipping point where one option becomes better than the other?
That tipping point is called the indifference point. At this specific point, you are mathematically neutral. It is the exact output level, which we call volume Q, where shifting from alternative A's cost structure to alternative B's cost structure offers zero penalty and zero advantage. The total costs are literally identical. The operating income is identical. It's that exact crossover point if you were to draw it out on a CVP graph.
To guarantee success on the exam, you absolutely don't need to memorize a massive new formula. Just execute this foolproof three-step process. Step 1. Set up the algebraic equation for alternative A's costs. Step 2. Set up the equation for alternative B's costs. Step 3. Slap an equal sign right between them and use basic algebra to solve for Q. And as a quick rule of thumb, if you expect to sell more than Q, you generally want the alternative with higher fixed costs and lower variable costs. Why? Because once those fixed costs are covered, your profits multiply way faster. But if you expect to sell less than Q, play it safe and choose the option with lower fixed costs.
Finally, we hit Section 5, Brain Hacks and Bullet Review.
Okay, you've made it through the heavy lifting. Now let's lock this down for good. Here is the absolute truth about passing the LACPA. Passively reading your MAS notes over and over again is a total waste of time. It just creates a dangerous illusion of competence. To retain this information all the way to your third or fourth year boards, you need to use spaced repetition software like Anki. Create digital flashcards that force your brain to actively recall these formulas from scratch, just like we've been practicing today. Active recall physically builds the myelin sheath around your neurons, ensuring the memory stays perfectly intact for years, not just days.
So, here is your ultimate bullet review cheat sheet. You should seriously mentally map these 5 points directly into your spaced repetition flashcards right after this explainer. 1. BEP is absolute zero profit. 2. The equation method is essentially your horizontal income statement. 3. The formula method for units uses unit CM in the denominator. 4. The formula method for pesos uses the CM ratio in the denominator. And 5. The indifference point is simply setting the two alternative algebraic equations exactly equal to each other.
I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to test your true mastery of management advisory services. If a company suddenly automates its production line, meaning their fixed costs shoot way up but their variable cost per unit drops, can you visualize the mechanics of how this changes the whole equation? Well, their break-even point will absolutely increase, demanding a much higher volume of sales just to survive. This means their profits will skyrocket if sales are good, but the risk of devastating losses multiplies if sales drop. Pretty wild, right? Take some time to think deeply about how cost structures completely change business strategy. Stay focused, keep hacking your study habits, and I'll see you in the next explainer.